Welcome to 50 things you might not know about Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 4. Let's go. First up, we have a glitch that you can do with Jango Fett's special move, the Jango Jump Jet. If you enable the moon gravity cheat, then do this special over and over again. You can fly high into the air and even access some out of bounds areas. We're checking out this glitch on London for starters. By doing this, we can get high enough that the game doesn't detect that we've gone from inbounds to out of bounds. You can't get any further than this, as the road isn't solid past this point, by the way. Or can we? Let's catch a ride on a bus, which takes us further out of bounds. When it despawns, we're just stuck floating in the air here. Okay, let's take a look at the other side of the level, where we can use the Jango Jump Jet to get over Admiralty Arch. Again, we can ride a London bus to get even further out of bounds. And now we're stuck in the air again. Here's another spot where we can use the Jango Jump Jet with moon gravity. It's the zoo, near the spawn point. Let's fly out here and take a look around. This spot is a relatively small area with invisible walls at either side. There is what looks like a car park out front here, with no cars in it however. But there are some kind of markings that resemble the lines used to separate parking spaces. There's also this other entrance to the zoo as well. Here we have what looks like another car park. And there's this random building here too. Again, not too much here, so let's move on to the next location. College now. I wanted to see if I could get further down the roads here, but there seems to be some invisible barriers that stop you getting too high on this level, sadly. However, one thing I did get to do was see the stadium. I think you can kind of see into it usually, but you can get a much better look inside with this glitch. San Francisco is next, and this is one of the more interesting ones in my opinion. There's this building over here called Bayside Suites, and I did check, you cannot reach this normally. It has some plants, steps, and a rail in the middle. You can just skate right up the steps, by the way, which is quite funny to see. Let's hop on a car and see where it takes us. Well, it means we can get a little further down the road, but not too far. Let's move on to the other side of the level. There's more to explore here, as you can get further down the road. Perhaps my favourite little area here is this car park, which you can't normally explore. Although watch out, not all of it is solid. What else is here? Well, there are a couple of buildings with awnings. One over here and another one across the road. Then there's this section here which is all solid. And there's this building which you can go inside of. We'll be back for one more look at something out of bounds in San Francisco later in the video. One thing that always intrigued me in this game was this gorilla at the zoo. He starts off in this cage here where he walks around and bangs on his chest. But then there comes a time on career mode where he's no longer in this cage. So where is he? Well, the gorilla has broken out of its cage and is now on top of it. If you look at the top of my screen here, hopefully you can spot him. Let's get on top of the entrance here, then use moon gravity to get to the gorilla. It turns out that it is actually not solid. We can skate around up here and the gorilla is completely unbothered by our presence. We can just pass straight through him as if he's a ghost. At this point in the story, we have to get him back in his cage. We need to start this goal, then lip trick on 2 switches, which each open one side of the top of the cage. Let's do what we did before. and jump up to the top of the cage with moon gravity. Now that it's open, we can actually drop down to a slightly lower level. Sadly, we can't get all the way down to the cage itself though. Another thing I noticed here was the glitchy wall textures. Look at that. One last thing to mention about this. Let's go up to the top of the cage in Freescape. You can actually see both sets of textures on the top of the cage here. The closed cage textures and the open cage textures as well. So both can be seen here at once. Here's a classic one, something that most of us probably went through when we first played this game. How do you open the aquarium at the zoo? I remember trying to figure this out for ages, but I was like 13 when the game came out. If we talk to the elephant trainer here, he gives us a clue of what to do. We have to get on top of the snack bar, then perform an elephant hop. This will send Stompy charging towards the aquarium, which we can now enter. Another thing at the zoo. I swear this is just one of the most interesting levels in my opinion. There's this car that drives around the car park. Is car the right word? Well, probably not. It's like an elongated golf cart. Anyway, if you get close to it, you can see there's a gorilla in the back seat. How wholesome. This is not the only place that a gorilla shows up though. On the carnival level, there's this teacup ride. And you guessed it, in one of the teacups we can see another gorilla just enjoying the ride. Also, if you jump into one of the teacups, you'll get a unique out of bounds message that can't be seen anywhere else in the game. On Alcatraz, if you do a lip trick on this rail here, you'll get the gap red power rail. When I was younger, I was confused by this. I was like, the rail isn't red, what do you mean? Well, there's an indication down here. Red power refers to an occupation of Alcatraz by a group of American Indians back in 1969. Making this video gave me the opportunity to take a little history lesson here. Remember on Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 2, in Venice, where you had to ollie over the magic bum 5 times? Well, there's a goal on Kona that harks back to this classic Tony 2 goal. If we speak to Tony Hawk here, he tells us that the magic bum has followed him here from Venice. And now we have to find him 5 more times around Kona. Here are all the spots.
On fuego.
Another out of bounds glitch now, this time at the practice area. What we need to do is go to this corner here and do a kickflip or a heel flip. At least I think you can do either, but well, if you're struggling to get it to work, just copy what I'm doing here. This can take a while, but sometimes you will clip through the level boundaries and onto the street below. Now we can explore. Okay, first we have the shabby cab. This is used for when you're picking a level to go to. By default, it looks like college is listed up there. The peds walking around the street aren't solid, by the way. Then there's this van. This is used for when you're buying something from the shop, like a new level. As you can see at the front, it's not fully textured. Probably just to save on file size, to be honest. It's not like we're ever meant to see it. We can jump on the van and even go inside it too. You can see a black texture, as we would usually only see what's inside the back doors. But oops, it looks like we're actually stuck in it. Good job I made a save state earlier. We have these street signs here, Lincoln Boulevard and Marine Street. Let's have a look around these roads too. The buildings are solid, and all these warehouses come from the San Francisco level actually. You might recognise them. And you can see the skybox for the practice level is San Francisco too. However, these buildings down here are all from the college level. There's a cinema, a sporting goods store, and a schnitzel shop. Check this weird texture here too. And there's also this storage building. You can get behind it too. And the road texture just carries on right through it. By the way, you can sketch either of the two cars that drive around the level. And you can go inside the skate shop. There's a kind of corridor, and then the main section of the shop around the front here. We can even jump behind the counter. Is there anything on this monitor here? No, of course not. The only thing is that we're now stuck inside here. Well, we can go through the open door, but we can't get back out of bounds. Oh well, time to load that save state again. Oh yeah, there's this little plant sale here too. Okay, time to explore this area with moon gravity on. You can get up to the awning of the schnitzel shop here. And then onto this roof. There's actually a quarter pipe up here. And you can get on the top bit here too. Now we jump over to the schnitzel shop roof. Where next? Check this out. We're inside the sports shop. We can get on here and then jump onto the cinema. And you can stand on this section too. Let's go over to this roof. It's the same as the other one we saw earlier. But let's go up this bit here and across to the other side. We can see that there's no quarter pipe on this side. It's just on one side. Can we get over here? Nope, it won't let you. But we can jump over to this roof. Last bit of the level. We can indeed skate on top of the building here, and also on top of the skate shop. I hope you guys decide to try this for yourselves if you haven't already. There's a running gag in the Tony Hawk series of games, where a guy is standing behind a goat, taking a good look at its rear half. And this is where it originated from. This is Genesis, the first guy with goat gag in the series. And you can find it here on the carnival level. Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 4 was the first game in the series to give us mini games. Let's go through them all now. Firstly, on college there is the infamous tennis game. You know, I'm not sure how long it lasts because I can't remember the last time I finished it.
Hey man, come over here. No.
Then there's the Garbage Day minigame. All you have to do is spine transfer into this bin lorry and it will begin. 2 more refuse trucks will appear next to the original one, and a load of money will appear above. Despite this looking like a mega cash grab, there is unfortunately a maximum amount of money that you can collect from this minigame. Collecting any more icons won't contribute to your prize pot. To start the 3rd college minigame, you need to lip trick on this green box. The wires above you will flash white and you have to grind on them to get the voltage capacitance down. Once it hits 0, you've completed the minigame. On to San Francisco, where we have this minigame involving seals and a shark. All we have to do is press X as fast as we can to get the seals to escape from the shark. Alcatraz next. Go to the recreation ground and talk to the mysterious voices. You'll be playing a game of baseball with the ghost of a prisoner pitching. Hit a few home runs and you'll earn money for doing so. In London, Talk to this pimp and he'll invite you to bet on which girl you think will win in a fight. It's basically a game of chance. Pick the winner and you'll receive a reward. The first of 3 minigames at the zoo is the giraffe enclosure. Well, technically not the giraffe enclosure itself, but if you go through these doors and press the big button on the wall, it will begin. I love how the text is just written in Comic Sans, by the way. The monkeys will throw poo at you, and you have to dodge it for 30 seconds. Next, go into the rhino enclosure and talk to the guy there. You can bet on which rhino you think will win the duel. And you can also bet that they'll knock each other out. It's a game of chance, like in London. In London? And you'll have to just pick the right one. Thirdly, you have to go over to this straw basket in the bird enclosure. Move from left to right and catch all the eggs to win. First up on Carnival, enter this soaring competition and outsoar the other guys to win this minigame. Next there's the shooting gallery. You have to hit the still and moving targets to earn enough points to win. The moving targets are worth more, of course. Lastly, there's a third minigame on Carnival. It's one of the 2 levels that have 3, with the other one being college. All we need to do is catch the runaway pig, which is easier said than done, to be honest. Back at the zoo, and probably not for the last time in this video, if you go over to this set of binoculars here, near the hippo enclosure, you can look through them to see one hippo mounting another. Also at the zoo, I told you it wouldn't be the last time, if you go to the monkey enclosure and stand there for a while, sometimes you'll see the monkeys throwing their own poo at you. Another out of bounds area now, and this one was quite popular back in the day. If you go to this rooftop on College and grind this rail, then press R2 to drop off the rail to the right, just at the right time, you can get onto this roof. Usually there's an invisible barrier that stops you doing this, but by using this method you can bypass it. So what can we do from here? Well, we can drop down into this building. There are several different sections of it too. Here is the first, with this view into the building across the way there. Also, check out the lighting textures on the ceiling. Then there's this little section here, with 2 small windows on the side and another bigger one out the front. And finally this long room at the end. But that's not all. We can jump beyond this building and get down here into these backlands. You'll be surprised at how far you can get down here. It's all solid. And it's not just the path, it's the grass area that you can explore too. The exception is this big grass bank here, which is solid but it's not skatable. You just kind of float on it. I imagine this could lead to some crazy combos if you're creative enough with it. On the character select screen, Steve Caballero has a guitar, which you can see here. The same guitar model was reused in the next game in the series, Tony Hawk's Underground, which was for a special grind. Have you ever taken a closer look at the license plates on the various vehicles in the game? Here are all the ones that I could find. First up is this minivan. The license plate reads Minivans. It also has 2 bumper stickers on the back. One that says Jesus in the shape of a fish, I think, which is a Christian symbol. And another that says Smile, it's a beautiful day. The license plate of this Ford Focus reads Rally Car. On the license plate of this pickup truck, it says Truck Guy. And the one on this vehicle says Can't Stop. The black cab in London has a registration plate on it. It says B. Scott Pye. Benjamin Scott Pye has featured on a Tony Hawk's game before. On Tony 3, it was one of the names that you could type into the creator SKATER screen, and you'd get his custom model. Mainly it's Neversoft devs that can be accessed via this method. But Ben here is only 14. As a guess, he might be the son of Mark L. Scott, perhaps? The London bus seems to have a normal number plate, albeit an old-fashioned one, both in the colour and the format of it. Although the newer format of British licence plates only came in 2001, which wasn't too long before the release of this game. The Dodge Viper in the underground car park has the licence plate Snake Oil. There's also a PT Cruiser down here, and its licence plate reads Retro Car. There's also this Mini, which is only seen in a cutscene, I believe, which has what looks like a newer format UK registration plate. And also the Elephant Solutions PLC truck behind it. Its plate reads J1 or JI perhaps, UYE. This could be a reference to the developer Henry G, or more likely the Neversoft developer Jason Uyeda. And then there's the police bike, which shows up in 2 goals if I remember right. Its reg is THEPI65, which spells the pigs. There are a couple of license plates on the zoo too, but I'm not sure they really mean anything. The first is here and it reads L779. And then on the Land Rover, FZ0131. In Chicago, there's this car that drives around. Its plate reads Shabcab89. This is because it's simply a reskin of the Shabby Cab, which we saw in the practice area earlier. And it's also present in the college level too. So that means that the Shabby Cab's license plate looks the same. I just had to show it for completion's sake. Although in the demo of Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 4, the license plate reads M. Scott, which is probably a reference to Mark L. Scott, one of the Neversoft developers. And then there's this BMW too, which says Wise Guys. That's because these vehicles belong to the Mafia in the Chicago level. While not a license plate, on the back and sides of this van, it says Gina and Dick, sausage stuffers, pork balls, meaty breasts. At the shipyard, there's this door here. It opens for the train, if that's the best word for it, to go in and out. It comes out of this warehouse, goes up and down the tracks a bit, and then goes back inside. Did you ever try to go inside this area? Well, if you did, you'll be met with the same fate that I was here. It's classed as out of bounds, unfortunately. Inside we can see shipping containers, a metal fence, windows, and another door on the opposite side. On the character select screen, if you highlight Bam and don't move to another skater, he will occasionally punch himself in the face. In the Creator Park mode, you can switch themes, although I think there are only 2. One of them, however, is based on LA from Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3. You can see the car wash over there, these buildings in the background here. The foreground buildings are new additions though. Even this car, which appears on the freeway, which is missing by the way. There's the movie theatre, these buildings here, and the slope that goes up towards the spawn point. Also, have you ever taken a closer look at the various signs on the Creator Park themes? Starting with LA, looking at the right side of this reddy brown building, they say, burritos today? Underneath that, I think it says, the ugly salon. To the left of burritos today, there's butts and hams. There is a subtitle, but I can't tell what it says. Underneath that is earthquake hats, confirmation that we are indeed in LA. To the left of earthquake hats is mining and excavation supplies. To the left of that is dangerous Thai food. To the left of that is the edible pet store. Above that is the Neversoft brand outlet. To the right is malt shop and skate shop. To the right again is discount motion capture. And here's the other theme, where we have gas travel plaza, Whack Donald's greasy wholeness, and Jimbo's Diner to the left. Under Jimbo's Diner, we have Jenny's ice cold beer. And to the left, we have Stinky Granny's Old People Restaurant. To the left of Stinky Granny's, there's Trader Tiki's and Horny Buffalo. Okay, what's next? Over here is 420, one of Neversoft's favourite numbers. Bean Queen? Oh god. Mexican food, etc. Los Caballeros, potentially a reference to Steve Caballero. And Dirt Road Coffee Shop, oh god. Oh, and self-storage. Oh, and there are two more, both motels. The You're In Motel and the Lost Virginity Motel. Here's the first time in the video that we'll talk about the PS1 version of Tony 4. There are numerous differences between the two versions, and first up is Kona. On the PS2 it's set at daytime, whereas on the PS1 it's set at nighttime or dusk instead. Did you know that you can assign the secret character special moves to other characters? For example, here's Bam, modelling Daisy's special tricks for us. Sunbathing, ah yeah, and hula hooping. There is one exception, however. Jango Fett's Jango Jump Jet can't be assigned to any other character. This is probably because no other character has jets on their back, so it wouldn't be realistic. There's a glitch with combining manuals and wall rides in this game that Andy Thurps recently showed in one of his videos. You manual towards a wall, go into a pogo, and I'm not sure if it has to be a pogo by the way, then press R2 to spin during the manual, then wall ride as quickly as possible after that. If done right, you'll do a front flip while wall riding. You can interact with this pair of binoculars in the San Francisco level. If you look through them, you can see two prisoners running around their cell at Alcatraz. Mike Vallely first appeared in the Tony Hawk series in this game, and he actually has a unique trick, which is the Mike V Boneless. The difference being that Mike adds a 360 spin. Here's the regular boneless for comparison. Also, Mike V's boneless is worth 50 more points. There's a ship here on the Alcatraz level. Its name is Albatross apparently. There's an area you can access by smashing through this glass here, and you can go up to the top deck via these narrow walkways. There's actually a captain up here who isn't solid. You can just pass straight through him. The same boat model, albeit with a couple of changes, was also used in the Chicago level. There's no glass to smash to get into the lower section, and sadly there's no captain either, and the name Albatross is also absent. But everything else is the same. At the shipyard there's a security office. There's a TV on, which is facing the wall, and has flickering lights projecting from it. Also there's a clock in there, and the time? Well, that would be 4 or 4:20. There's that number again. In the PS1 version of Tony 4, there are two exclusive levels that did not appear in the PS2 version of the game. The first of those two levels is the sewers. Naturally, this level is an underground sewer system. It has several rooms connected by tunnels. The tunnels do look pretty aesthetic, because they're all different colours. And there are areas where the water looks a toxic green kind of colour. Overall, it's never going to be remembered as a classic Tony Hawk's level, but I definitely played worse. Now obviously there are some levels in the game that are based on real life locations, like London and Alcatraz for example. However, other levels are also based on real life locations, but aren't necessarily named after the places they're based on. Take college for example, it's based on UC Berkeley, a well-known college in the state of California. And the zoo, it's based on the real-life London Zoo. On the PS1 version of London, there's a different bridge used for the level. Here the bridge is based on Tower Bridge, which is probably the most famous bridge in London, mainly due to its looks. And on the PS2 version of the level, it's Waterloo Bridge that's used instead. And this is actually the correct bridge. The level is based around Trafalgar Square, and in real life it's Waterloo Bridge that's located here. Tower Bridge is located some way to the east, so I'm not sure why it was used in the PS1 version. Also in London there is a familiar landmark in the background. This building here is St Paul's Cathedral. It's located fairly close to Trafalgar Square, so you could probably see it from there. However, it's repeated several times in the background, so it's not necessarily in the correct direction at all times. Sticking with London, as I mentioned, the area that the level focuses on is Trafalgar Square, a famous part of the city featuring fountains and Nelson's Column, among other famous landmarks. The same location was used for the London circuit, which was featured in Gran Turismo 5 Prologue and Gran Turismo 5. I previously made a video about a cut longer London circuit, and I'll link to that in the video description if you want to check it out. London also gives you the opportunity to land a unique trick. If you ollie into one of the fountains, you'll be able to perform a fountain plant. Earlier in the video, we saw the first of two exclusive PS1 levels. The second level is Little Big World, not to be confused with Little Big Planet of course. This level is essentially someone's kitchen. Either the kitchen is massive, or the skater has been shrunk. It's not clear which is happening here. Well, we have a sink, a toaster, and you can even grind on the toast by the way. And then a hob. Looks like someone is cooking bacon, eggs and pancakes. Look at me, I'm skating in a fried egg. Okay, what else? Blocks of cheese, spatulas, and more. But you can't go off the edge, that's out of bounds. You know what, I kind of like this level. Not necessarily for the skateability of it, if that's even a word. Just because it's a bit of fun. But the PS1 Tony Hawk's 4 wasn't the only PS1 game to create a level like this. The one I remember best was a track called Bez's Flat Circuit, which was featured in Test Drive 5, where you'd be driving through some guy's apartment. There was a leftover model for Fry Cook found in the PS1 version of the game too. So thank you to DCX Demo for this footage. As you can see, he's based on Bam Margera, a Fry Cook version of Bam basically. I honestly don't know why this skater exists. There were also some special tricks intended for Fry Cook that are, instead, just leftovers in the PS1 Tony 4. Here they are, demonstrated by Benedict. So thank you to Benedict for this footage. But there was still an exclusive secret skater in the PS1 Tony 4, and it was Little Person. Little Person is, well, a little person. But other than his stature, what can we say about him? Well, it looks like he belongs in the Carnival level, despite that being a PS2 exclusive. And all his decks are clown themed as well. Gameplay wise, I picked Shipyard to skate around. Shipyard on the PS1 version of the game is set as sunset, rather than late afternoon like on the PS2 version. As an aside, well, a second aside I guess, the room where the train thing comes out of on the PS2 Shipyard is replaced by a fully skatable area on PS1 Shipyard here. Anyway, Little Person has some unique specials too. The first is the Little Tornado, a cannonball-like spin trick that earns you 8,000 points. Then there's the Little Head Push, which is a manual. Lastly, there's the Little Bed, where he lies down and falls asleep on his board while grinding. Even his eyes are shut. Well, I said we'd be back in San Fran to check out one last thing that occurs out of bounds. And that thing is the tram. The same tram that you see in the level. Well, if we go out of bounds with Jango and hop on top of it, we can see that it doesn't despawn and respawn. It actually travels around the whole level, so we can take a trip right through the out of bounds areas. This is different to the other vehicles in the level. All the cars seem to despawn and respawn, but the tram, it never leaves. And like with other Tony Hawk's videos I've made, we need to look at the Neversoft developer Secret Skaters. The way it works is by inputting a certain name into the Create a Skater mode, and you'll get a custom character. Let's go through them all now, as quickly as possible. And these are from a list I found online, so please let me know in the comments if there are any more. Okay, we have Mike Day, Joe Favazza, John Rosser, Kevin Mulhall, Lindsay Hayes, Lisa G. Davies, Marilena Rixfor, Little Man, Matt Hoffman, Matt McPherson, Meek West, Jim Jagger, Mike Lachevere, Mike Ward, Nolan Nelson, Pete Day, Rick Thorne, Stacey D, Stacey E. Tuarte, Ted Barber, Todd Wachowski, Zach Zig Drake, Chawa Steele, Aaron Skillman, Adam Littman, Andrew Skates, Andy Marchal, Angus, Atiba Jefferson, Ben Scott Pye once more, Big Tex, Brian Jennings, Captain Liberty, Chris Peacock, Conman, Danaconda, or perhaps it's Danaconda, Dave Stoll, DDT, Dead End Road, Fritz, Gary Jez Dannon, Henry G, Jason Uyeda, and whatever this is. There's a cheat you can input to unlock the secret skater Daisy, and this is the code. I'll let you figure out what it depicts. But how would people have known about this code when the game was released? Well, it was Neversoft themselves who shared it. Here's the advert they put out as a Christmas present to all the players. Speaking of Daisy, if you position her next to a wall and move the camera so that it clips into her, you can see what she's wearing under her top. And well, Maybe the less said the better here. We saw how we could get out of the level boundaries using the Jango Jump Jet earlier in the video. However, that method doesn't allow you to get everywhere. There is another method we could use though. As we can see here, this area behind the entrance to the carnival level is out of bounds. But what we can do is jump towards this area, then set a restart point as close to the ground as possible. If we get it just right, we'll be skating in the out of bounds area. You can even use this method to skate on water in other levels. Back on the Shipyard level, if you go over here, you can see some kind of vehicle behind this garage door. I'm not sure what this is or whether it ever comes out of here. So you guys will have to let me know. Does it ever emerge? On the loading screen for the level, there's this forklift pictured. Could it be this? As an additional thing to note about this, there are these wheels on this boat here which just seems to be full of junk. They are the same wheel textures as the ones on the vehicle behind the garage door. Also on Shipyard, and located close to this, is a generator that's bouncing all over the place. Feels like this is the hub of interesting things on the Shipyard level. The door that opens for the train, the vehicle behind the door, the security office, and now this. Anyway, if you stand on top of it, the screen will shake like crazy. Yeah, that's it. That's the fact. Do you remember School 2 from Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 2? Well, there was a gap in that level called TC's Roof, and it looked like this. And in Tony Hawk's 3 we had TC's Rail. There is a kind of sequel to these gaps in a way in San Francisco in Tony Hawk's 4. If you jump between these roofs, you'll get the gap TC's Roof Gap 2. And also in Kona, there's a TC's Deck Gap. As a reminder, TC stands for Team Chicken, which was a nickname for Neversoft developer Chris Rausch. You might remember one of the goals from Kona where you had to go down this luge. The idea is that you have to go through all of these sets of cones, but did you ever try ollieing? Well, if you do an ollie, you'll actually be doing an old school ollie. I believe this is the only time in the game that you can perform this trick. Although, let me know in the comments if there are other occurrences. In London, there's a goal where you have to skitch a police bike. But what happens if you decide to, well, not? The police bike just disappears into thin air. What about if you skitch it and then end the goal? Well, the same thing happens, but it also does take a bit longer to vanish. We briefly took a look at the cutscene for this goal when we were discussing the license plates earlier in the video. And aside from there being 2 unique vehicles in it that don't appear anywhere else, there is another interesting thing about it. It takes place outside the level boundaries. It unfolds in an area that we explored earlier with Jango Fett, across Waterloo Bridge. In the zoo, if you go to this kiosk here, you can talk to the zoo worker who's manning the stand. When you do, you can see that he's harbouring a monkey, which is down to his right hand side. However, when you view the same place in normal gameplay, the monkey is nowhere to be seen. On the demo of Tony 4, which we briefly saw earlier in the video, there is a secret tape to be found in the college level. Secret tapes were a staple of the series, but as you'll probably know, Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 4 didn't actually feature them. But it looks like at one point in the game's development, they were going to be here too. There's an Easter egg at the college level on the demo of Tony 4 that we need to mention. I know that other people like Odd Header have already shown it, but I feel like it's too good to miss out on the video. If you perform a manual on this balcony here, a countdown will start, and upon counting down to 0, a girl will come out of the building. If you're able to manual for long enough, another one will appear, and I assume this could potentially go on forever. And of course, this was removed from the final game. Earlier in the video, we saw how we could get to out of bounds areas with Jango Fett. Well, we can also use the same technique to reach high places that we usually cannot get to. At the shipyard, this roof is out of bounds. However, this ledge at the very top isn't. So we can fly up here and get a nice view of the scenery that surrounds the level. Also, we can fly over to this water tower, or whatever it is here. I don't think you can usually get up here, and again, it's classed as in bounds, even though the roof below is out of bounds. Back in college, you can get up to the top of this car park here. You can't go any further beyond this, but you can skate on the yellow frame just here. San Francisco, you can fly up to this rooftop here, which is pretty fun to explore. You can even go right down this narrow area here. Although I did check, you can't jump off to get further out of bounds. And look at these stone pillar things. They have no textures on this side. And at the zoo, you can get inside the aquarium without even needing to open it. With Jango, you can just fly right through the roof. And for our last fact in the video, we go back to the start, to college. The first level in the game, other than the practice area. One of the mini games in this level is, of course, tennis. And the name of your opponent is Bjorn. This is likely a reference to the famous tennis player Bjorn, who won the French Open and Wimbledon multiple times in the 60s and 70s. And that's our last fact. Thank you for watching.